morning, America. You are watching 1776 Action News with your anchor, Hingle McCringleberry, and your reporters on the scene, Aaron Lewis and George Jones.
Hello, America. Tonight we have a lot to cover, so fasten your seatbelts. We're going on a carriage ride. Today's first and most pressing story is what may be the start of our revolution, the signing of a document aptly named the Declaration of Independence. Joining us live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, is George Jones. What's the story, George?
I'm here with one of the members of the Continental Congress, the brave souls who are standing up for our freedom by signing this document, John Hancock. First question. Why are you gentlemen signing this document, risking your lives in the process? We, the members of the Second Continental Congress, believe that His Majesty, his subordinates, and the Parliament are mistreating us and completely overlooking our liberties as men. We made and signed this document because we are tired of these egregious laws and policies, and from now on we will be an independent state, free from His Majesty and Parliament's reign. Well, I myself and many of my colleagues believe that this will most likely result in war. We don't particularly advocate it, but the fact that His Majesty's actions, along with Parliament's actions, show that he and Parliament are not fit to rule us, so we are going ahead with it. Also, I know that everyone agrees with us. There are loyalists who sympathize with the Crown, but we believe we have enough minds and voices that agree with our ambitions and will fight for their independence. Interesting. And lastly, if you succeed in creating a new nation independent of England, do you have any idea of how it will be run? Of course, we are intelligent men and have already started, albeit an extremely rough, draft. We draw ideas and inspiration from Montesquieu in his teaching about separation of powers, the Magna Carta, the English Bill of Rights, along with Roman and Greek ideals. And most certainly, no taxation without representation. Well, there you have it. Looks like you have a lot of work ahead of you. Reporting live for 1776 Action News, I'm George Jones, and that's how the cookie crumbles.
Our next story brings us to Boston, where we go to a recent site of an activist revolt that is being called the Boston Tea Party. We go to you live with Aaron Lewis, with anonymous activist who we will call Nyquil Stillwad. Aaron?
Hey Hingle, I'm here with Mr. Dillwad, one of the activists involved in the recent revolt against increased taxes to colonies. Mr. Dillwad, please explain to yourself, why did you get involved in the Tea Party?
Well, the increased taxes in the colonies has made life more and more difficult in the colonies. And for what? So England can squeeze every last dime out of us so they can fund a war with France that we don't even want to be involved in. It's ridiculous. When they enact the Tea Act, we had it, so we snuck into the harbor and threw it in the tea into the harbor.
And what message did you intend to send to England?
That the colonies is fed up with this abuse and mistreatment, and things need to change.
I think that's about it. Sums it up. Thank you for speaking with us, Mr. Dillswell. Back to you,
And that
Hingle.
is a perfect segue into our next segment, the Intolerable Acts. For those of you who are new to the colonies or have been living under a rock the entire time, the Intolerable Acts are laws that have been passed in response to the Tea Party. These acts have mainly affected Massachusetts and its ability to self-govern and many of the rights of the whole colonies, the overall colonies. The Boston Port Act was the first of these acts to be passed. This act meant that the port is to be closed until repairs to the East India Company have been completed, and His Majesty believes that order has been appropriately restored. The problem is that some economists have in fact done nothing to warrant this, and this is punishing the entirety of Boston instead of just the actions of few. The second act was the Massachusetts Government Act. The act promoted even more outrage among the colonists because it unilaterally altered the government of Massachusetts to bring it under control of the British government. Under the terms of the Government Act, almost all positions of colonial government were to be appointed by the governor, parliament, or king. The third act was the Administration of Justice Act, which allowed royal officials to be retried if the governor does not concede the defendant got a fair trial. The final act was the Quartering Act. So this applied to all colonies and sought to create a more effective method of housing British troops in America. In a previous act, the colonies had been required to provide housing for soldiers, but colonial legislators had been uncooperative in doing so. The new Quartering Act allowed the governor to house soldiers in any other buildings suitable for quarters that were not provided. Overall, these policies have created much outrage in the colonies, and these acts are directly responsible for the Declaration of Independence. Our next segment is with weather. Our next segment is weather with Aaron Lewis. Aaron?
Thanks, Big Kringle. So today's weather looks like it's going to be good this week. Let's take a look. So on July 1st, it looks like it's going to be between the upper 80s. As we can see at 7 p.m., it's going to change, get higher. And then on July 2nd, we're going to be in the upper 70s, lower 70s. As we can see from the start of 6 a.m. to 9:40 a.m. it's going to be the same temperature, 78 degrees. And then at 9 p.m. it's going to go down to 74 degrees. And then on July 3rd, then we're going to be between the uppers and lower 70s again, but this time we're going to be starting out with lower temperatures, some in around the 70s. And then it's going to increase at 1:30 p.m. and then it drops back down again at 8:10 p.m. at 74 degrees. And then on July 4th, we're going to be starting out in a little bit of colder temperatures, around 68 degrees. And then it's supposed to increase around between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. and then it drops back down again at 9 p.m. And then on July 5th to the 7th, it looks like we're going to be in the upper 75s and the 70s. So it looks like pretty good weather for harvesting and hunting this week. That's your weather report. Back to you.
We told you back earlier last week about Benjamin Franklin going on a hunt, and we said we'd get you that footage. Here's that footage.
We've been out here for about 2 hours, and this year thing has given up considering he hasn't tagged anything. What do you want us to say about today's family?
He that has patience can have what he will, and energy and persistence can conquer all things.
Our last segment, we go live to you in Massachusetts with a colonial soldier, with George Jones reporting. George?
Thanks, Hingle. I'm here with a colonial soldier to give us the scoop. So why are you fighting in this war?
Because my freedoms have been threatened by the oppressive actions of the king and the parliament.
I see. And what type of tactics will the colonies employ?
I can't say much, but guerrilla warfare is the key.
Interesting. And what do you wish to accomplish with fighting?
The creation of a new country, of course.
There you have it, America. Back to you, Henry.
That's all the time we have for tonight. Thank you. You've been watching 1776 Action News. Goodbye, America, and good night.